Welcome to Elengy. Our company operates 3 LNG terminals in France: Montoire de Bretagne on the Atlantic coast, Fos-Tonkin, and Fos-Cavaux on the Mediterranean coast. Our activity consists of receiving liquefied natural gas contained in ships called LNG carriers. This is to store it in tanks and send it onto the national transport network, where it will be distributed to consumers. An expert in LNG for over 50 years, our terminals have conducted more than 10,000 ship unloading operations, which is 1/3 of the global fleet. Elengy is one of the leaders among terminal operators in Europe. Its LNG storage capacity is 770,000 cubic meters. Its regasification capacity is 21 billion cubic meters per year. Elengy can load up to 25,000 tanker trucks per year. All of this is thanks to the help of 400 employees. Our LNG terminals are subject to the Seveso High Threshold Directive because they store a large quantity of LNG. Let's focus on the characteristics of this product. LNG, or liquefied natural gas, is maintained at a temperature of less than 160 degrees Celsius to remain in liquid form. In this liquid form, natural gas occupies 600 times less volume. LNG is colorless. However, its release into the atmosphere is accompanied by a white cloud. Indeed, due to its very low temperature, the evaporating gas condenses the surrounding humidity, creating this white plume. Liquefied natural gas has no odor. Remember for your safety that the presence of gas is therefore not detectable by smell at the LNG terminal. LNG is not toxic. However, keep in mind that natural gas can displace oxygen in the air, thus preventing you from breathing properly. The LNG chain consists of 5 links. Natural gas is extracted from a reservoir. It is primarily composed of methane. Next, it is sent to liquefaction plants. The gas undergoes cooling to become liquid and thus more easily transportable. Once liquefied, the gas is then loaded onto LNG carriers to be transported by sea. After their journey, the ships deliver the LNG to the LNG terminals, where it will be regasified. Finally, the gas is sent onto the national network to be transported and distributed to consumers. An LNG terminal's main function is therefore the storage of LNG and the emission of natural gas onto the national transport network. Now let's take a closer look at the process of LNG at an LNG terminal. First, liquefied natural gas arrives by LNG carrier. It docks and moors at our berths. The unloading arms connect to the LNG carrier to retrieve its cargo. The LNG is then stored in our concrete cryogenic tanks for a few days. To be regasified, the LNG is then sent to high-pressure pumps. There, the LNG is pressurized to 80 bar. Then it passes through heat exchangers, where, with the help of water, it returns to its gaseous state. Finally, the natural gas passes through an odorization station that gives it its characteristic smell. Natural gas can then be sent onto the national transport network to be distributed to consumers. Now that you know how the terminal operates, let's describe a typical day on our gas site. Before entering the site, report to the terminal's guard post with an identification document and an N1 or N2 authorization at Montoire and GIES1 or GIES2 at Fos. After that, you go through security reception. There you learn the essential safety instructions for working on our facility. At the end of this reception, you fill out a questionnaire. It ensures that you have retained this information. Once you pass the test, report to reception to receive your safety passport. It must be visible throughout your intervention. A safety booklet is also provided to you. It indicates the risks, instructions, site plan, emergency numbers, and the location of assembly points. As a reminder, It is strictly forbidden to smoke inside the terminal, except in designated areas. It is also prohibited to consume alcohol, use or carry a phone or any other electronic device that does not comply with ATEX standards, unless authorized by Elengy. There are designated areas on site to drop off your phones. Traffic within the terminal is regulated. Respect the rules of the road and park your vehicle in the identified parking area, in position, ready to leave. Many trucks circulate in the terminal, so be vigilant when walking. Elengy places great importance on cybersecurity. We therefore inform you that it is prohibited to connect your devices, such as USB drives or hard drives, to our computers without prior verification. Do not share your passwords and usernames either. Finally, only use verified workstations with authorized software and unauthorized networks. Elengy terminals are restricted access areas, or ZAR. People working at Elengy terminals must have a ZAR issued by the prefecture. A safety passport and a circulation permit are issued after checking a valid identification document, national identity card, passport, or residence permit. These safety passports take the form of a badge with a colored lanyard. Blue for permanent access, red for temporary access, and green for visitors. Wearing your access badge is mandatory. To prepare for your intervention on our industrial site, Elengy and your company have created a prevention plan. This document certifies that a risk analysis has been conducted before the start of your activity. You must have read and signed it. This document must be present on your worksite. As soon as you have your safety passport, you need to collect 2 documents before accessing your worksite. The first document is the work authorization. It is the assurance that the operator is aware of your activity at the terminal. It specifies the restrictions placed on your worksite. This document is only valid for 1 day, so at the end of your day, return your work authorization and permits to the guard post at Montoir de Bretagne or to the shift manager's office at the FOS terminals. The second document is the permits. It allows you to carry out a specific activity with the appropriate preventive measures to minimize risk. Once these documents are available to you, you can go to your worksite. To enter the gas zone, you must wear the appropriate personal protective equipment or PPE. At the terminal, the mandatory PPE includes safety shoes, an anti-static double-layer work outfit with long sleeves, safety glasses, a helmet with an adjustable chin strap, a pair of gloves, and noise-cancelling headphones or earplugs in designated areas. PPE is essential to ensure your safety. Your employer is required to provide you with PPE suitable for the risks associated with your activity. Make sure your PPE is in good condition. To enter the gas zone with a vehicle, you need a circulation permit and a vehicle authorized by Elengy that meets these conditions. A diesel engine, a battery cut-off switch that disconnects all electrical power, a spark arrestor on the exhaust, and a valid fire extinguisher. Once your vehicle is checked, Elengy will issue you a sticker that validates the compliance of your vehicle. When parking, remember to open the battery cut-off switch and leave the keys in the ignition. Additionally, at Montoir de Bretagne, you enter the gas zone with an escort from the QHSE service. Once you arrive at your work area, an inspection is conducted with your site supervisor to take a moment to pause and ask the right questions. Do I have all the authorizations and skills? Do I have the means to intervene? Is my work environment secure? This process allows for safe intervention. The majority of the Elengy terminal is considered an explosive atmosphere zone, known as an ATEX zone. Ignition is only possible if all conditions of the fire triangle are present, which means the presence of a fuel such as natural gas, an oxidizer, which is most often the oxygen in the air, and an energy source. Natural gas must be mixed with air in very specific proportions to ignite. This is called the explosivity range. For natural gas, ignition can occur with 5% gas in the air. This is the lower explosivity limit. Beyond 15% gas, the mixture is too rich to ignite. This is the upper explosivity limit. These two values describe the conditions under which explosive atmosphere zones are present. That is why it is absolutely essential to check for the absence of explosive atmosphere before starting open flame or hot work. Electronic devices are potential sources of ignition in the gas zone. Their presence is strictly prohibited even when turned off. Liquefied natural gas is maintained at a temperature of less than 160 degrees Celsius. Of course, you will never dip your hands in it, but keep in mind that even a simple contact with a valve or a pipe carrying LNG can severely burn you. In proximity to LNG lines, you must wear gloves, and under no circumstances should you touch a liquefied natural gas pipeline. At the terminal, gases or liquefied gases are found at very high pressures. The facilities are monitored continuously, but pressure-related accidents are always possible, especially at valves and equipment. So be careful not to get too close. To prevent this risk, do not connect without authorization to the various networks of the LNG terminal. Electrical installations are present throughout the site. To work on them, you must have the authorization related to the nature of the work. Additionally, ensure that the lockout has been properly performed before starting your activity. The verification of the absence of voltage must be carried out before beginning electrical work. To enter a confined space, you need a validated permit, with an atmosphere check that must be performed by the operator. It is valid for half a day. Another check will be conducted after each company break. Additionally, a confined space supervisor must be present during the work. Finally, a gas detector will be loaned to you by Elengy. Ventilation measures will be added based on the risk analysis. Lifting operations are common at the terminal. These operations are sensitive because they present a significant risk of very serious accidents. It is absolutely forbidden to be under the load during lifting, as well as in the influence zone, which is the area where the load is likely to fall based on its geometry. That is why you must not cross the marked zone during a lifting operation. Chemical products are present at the terminal, such as THT, which allows us to odorize natural gas. THT is harmful and extremely flammable. Access to areas containing THT is controlled. If you use chemicals during your activity, read the Safety Data Sheet or SDS. It details the use of the product in question, as well as the protective equipment that must be used to handle the chemical product, and the actions to take in case of contact with it. At the Montoire de Bretagne and Fos-Tonkin terminals, certain materials may contain asbestos or lead. Before starting work on these structures, check with Elengy to see if pre-work inspections have been conducted. All work at height on the terminal must undergo a risk assessment. If you are using scaffolding, ensure that it has been approved and meets your needs. There will be a green sign. If it has not been approved or does not meet standards, the sign will be red. It will therefore be prohibited to use the scaffolding. The supervisor or the client will conduct a needs assessment with the site manager. Modifications to scaffolding can only be made by trained and authorized personnel. During the assembly and disassembly of scaffolding, wearing a harness with a double lanyard is mandatory. We remind you that your activity must be carried out in a clean and organized workspace. A disorganized workspace always poses a risk to you and to others. Remember to tidy up as you go, instead of waiting until the end of your activity. Additionally, be responsible and think about the environment. Do not spill liquid products on the terminal. Sorting areas are available for you on the terminal. If you witness a small-scale chemical spill, if possible, stop the leak. Limit the spread of the leak with absorbent materials or containment booms and dispose of the absorbent in the designated hazardous waste bins. In case of a spill, urgently call 18 internally. If the conditions of your work environment are not the same as those studied in the prevention plan, you have the duty to alert Elengy, who will help you resume your activity under suitable conditions. If you or a colleague are faced with a serious and imminent danger, make sure not to expose yourself to that danger. In any case, say stop if your activity or that of your colleagues is not safe. Once your activity is completed and you are packing up the site, no waste related to your activity should remain. Leave your workspace as you found it. Finally, before leaving the terminal, you must return your work permit and the lockout tags to the site manager. If you hear a siren, whether continuous or modulated, here is the procedure to follow. I stop my activity. I secure my site by opening the battery disconnects and pressing the emergency stops on the equipment. I walk calmly to the nearest assembly point. I badge in once I arrive at the assembly point. I follow Elengy's instructions regarding the resumption of work. If you witness an accident at the Elengy terminal, protect the victim by neutralizing the danger when possible. Mark the area to prevent further accidents. Use a walkie-talkie or call 18 from a landline to report the accident. When calling, introduce yourself, specify the location of the accident and its nature, such as accident, fire, or leak. Provide the number of victims and describe the first aid actions taken. Never hang up first, wait for permission. Finally, assist the victim if you are a trained first aider. Otherwise, wait for emergency services. Following this safety briefing, everyone commits to respecting the rules presented in the video. Safety is the priority for all individuals working at the terminal. Do not hesitate to ask questions if needed to the various Elengy personnel who will be there to assist you. Stay alert to your work environment and remember that we are all responsible for safety.